Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. Queen Victoria and the Nazi search for her Aryan origins. In 1938, German forces made their way into and invaded Austria. The Second World War was well underway, and a racial law meant that many citizens were now required to prove their Aryan descent. This search for 3 generations' worth of heritage led to a remarkable question about Queen Victoria's birth certificate. On March 12, 1938, the German army made it into Austria, and then the formerly independent republic was incorporated into the Third Reich. Austria's citizens were all quite enthusiastic about the change, yet little, if any, could have anticipated the profound impact it would cause. For anyone who was a member of the Jewish community, it meant either exile, death, or imprisonment in camps. Everyday life was transferred to a Nazi way of doing things, and there were also smaller consequences and a severe limit on freedoms. Popular books were banned, music was banned in many instances, and expression was limited too. There were other outcomes, one of which was experienced by the Archduchess Ileana of Austria-Toscana, as a file unearthed in the National Archives shows. Ileana was by birth and by marriage linked to most, if not all, of the leading royal families within Europe. Her parents were King Ferdinand and Queen Marie Victoria of Romania, by birth a British princess. Her grandparents on her mother's side were Alfred, the Duke of Edinburgh, who was also the Duke of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, and Duchess Marie of Russia, the daughter of the Tsar Alexander II. But it's her great-grandparents, specifically Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who make this for an interesting tale. Ileana was married to Anton Leopold, the Archduke of Austria-Toscana, and this made her essentially a branch of the Romanov dynasty, as well as a Romanian and a British princess. She was also of great significance in the context of the Anschluss, a Habsburg archduchess who had lived since marriage in July of 1931 in the Palace of Somber at Hollabrunn in Lower Austria. The implications of her residency soon became very apparent. On the 25th of June 1938, the Archduchess wrote to her old friend, Sir Stephen Gillespie, the Foreign Office librarian, with a most extraordinary request. You see, now that Austria had become incorporated into the Third Reich, Ileana and her husband were now citizens of Germany, and even though they resided in Austria, like those in the Nazi racial state, they were required to produce to the authorities documents proving her Aryan descent. Ileana needed to provide marriage, birth and baptism certificates spanning back 3 generations. She also needed to prove satisfactory racial and marital status of 3 of the British royal family. Her mother, Queen Marie Victoria of Romania, her grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh, and her great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. But Ileana didn't know where to even start, so she begged Sir Stephen for his help. Sir Stephen thought this was a rather puzzling thing. "It seems to me infinitely comic," he wrote in the departmental minutes, "that it should be necessary to prove Queen Victoria's Aryan descent. Nevertheless," he replied on the 28th of June, "I think we shall be able to obtain for you the copies of the certificates required." However, upon making their inquiries, Sir Stephen found that his prediction was quite optimistic. You see, firstly, it became evident that the records only went back as far as 1837. This meant that Victoria's birth could not be verified via a birth certificate. Secondly, because of regulations regarding royal weddings, there was no documentation or records surrounding said royal weddings. Then Sir Stephen approached the Lord Chamberlain, the Earl of Clarendon. Now, although regarding the matter as astounding and very sad, Clarendon was willing to help. He reported, "The Royal Register kept in the Chapel Royal St James's Palace dates only from the 11th of March 1882. As copies of the certificates appeared unobtainable, some other means then had to be devised. Sir Stephen's suggestion to the Lord Chamberlain was to bamboozle the Germans with official pomp. It has occurred to me that the Germans would most likely accept a certificate drawn up by yourself as formal and even pompous in style as possible. I would then authenticate your signature, attaching a Foreign Office seal. This was then done rather quickly, and then Ileana was sent the details proving the particulars of her British descent. Ileana was able to stay in her home. The documents proved to be enough for the Nazis to allow her to remain. Now, although there were hundreds of thousands of others who were subjected to Nazi horrors, it does show the ridiculous nature of the Nazi racial state. For even Queen Victoria's past was not safe from Nazi obsession. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.